So I'm coming out of Fred Meyer's today, and I hear this guy call this little girl a little asshole, and I don't know whether those were his daughters or those were the daughters of the woman that he was dating. There's a lot of women out there that have made really poor choices in men, boyfriends, and fathers. And I talk a lot about this on the show, and so he may have been a bastard. He may be a bastard. Some tells me he's not a single dad. Some tells me that he's a real piece of shit himself, and he might even be living off somebody. There might even be a woman who's putting him up because she likes to have a man who likes to act like he's in charge. I felt really sorry for those little girls. And I have good peripheral vision, so I'm in a deli eating somewhere, or I'm sitting down. I may be on my computer, but I'm aware of things happening around me. At this particular Fred Meyer Deli on 33rd and Broadway, or actually more like 26th and Broadway, somewhere around there. There's certain people that will just start staring at you with a weird grin. I mean, Portland is a freaky place to be home free. It's not like your town. And it's large, but it's also small. And so if you're hanging around some of the same areas, you're seeing some of the same freaks over and over and over again. And me being a public figure to a certain degree, even though some people say get over it, I don't like being stared at all the time. Okay, some of the time is one thing, just wherever I go, just like heads turning. And they aren't like friendly, they're like monotone, like weird, like Archon robot type. And so I'm aware of my surroundings, basically. That's where I'm going with all this. I'm aware of my surroundings. And so I'm aware when people are looking at me, and I'm aware that little girl's looking at me, and I'm wondering why she's looking at me. And maybe it was just kind of like a cry for help, but that was 5 minutes before he was saying those things outside. So 1 minute, I'm aware of this pain that this little girl is going through, as she turns and slowly looks at me as I'm on my computer, being aware of that in the peripheral vision, but taking note of it. And then leaving 5 to 10 minutes later, and then hearing that, and I've heard the way some mothers talk to their sons, and there's because of a lot of bad relationships that some men and women have had with other men and women, they take it out on their kids. Some of us have experienced that. Some of us know exactly what that's like. When you're dealing with a man hater or when you're dealing with a woman hater, we all have our own experiences, and we've also seen the programming in others that maybe we have dated or have bedded down with at some point in our lifetime. So these are things to think about, how there's just this vicious cycle between how people are raised, how they're treated, and how they grow up and treat other people. And just this cycle that just keeps continuing itself of abuse within the species that's multi-generational. And unfortunately, this cycle that humanity has yet to break, that deals with accepting this reality, or being able to be sexually attracted to someone who's dominating and controlling and vicious and cruel. There's something different about the human body that you and I inhabit. We may be spirits in these bodies, but these are not pure bodies. There's some weird programming in these bodies. And there's a lot of denial about that. There's a lot of misunderstanding. There's a lot of ignorance, for that matter, and a lot of widespread debate when it comes to the true origins of the physical man and woman. Not to be confused with the spiritual man and woman. A lot of people are getting these way mixed up. It's not one and the same. Our spirits are far more vast and far more able to access real knowledge, real information, than anything that this physical body and this physical brain can experience. But when I see things like that, I am seeing more confirmation of that sickness within our society. And there's a lot of men out there that will never have the chance to be a father, to have a daughter, to have a son. I'm likely one of those men. Because I'm on the non-materialistic path, I have nothing to offer women in this day and age. And despite any nice thing anybody wants to say on Facebook or YouTube, reality is reality. The proof is in the pudding, as they say. And I know what planet I'm on, and I know what people's values are. Okay. And I also know that I can be perceived to be a little angry by some people, but in general, I'm a good person, and there's a whole lot of angry bastard bad people that aren't going to bed alone. And so the reality is, I'm not a bad person, but the type of man that I am is not the type that's desired by those that are currently incarnated in the earth realm. In this particular world, in this time-space reality, it is not a physical reality that is one that treats good men with positivity, with long life. We are out in the street, and there's probably a lot of good men that are out in the street. Meanwhile, there's a whole lot of bastards that are inside somewhere warm. It's basic math. 2 + 2 = 4. Okay. I felt sorry for those little girls, but in reality, someone is allowing that situation to progress. And even though I don't know whether he's the father, he's the boyfriend, I've seen those situations before many times where the woman is involved. And she's allowing it. Or she's dishing out some of her own on her male children. And it's abuse. Even if it's not physical, even if it's just verbal, it's abuse. The question is, would I be making things better, or would I be making things worse if I were to intervene and say something? You know, hey, why don't you pick on someone your own size? Being that the guy was about 6'6" and probably about 250 pounds, I wouldn't exactly be his size, but I'd be a little closer to his size than a little girl who's about yay big, looking terrified of this giant man who's obviously enjoying projecting his rage at her. And we also see the bystander effect. There's probably a lot of people that heard that were walking in and out of that. Really, it's probably one of the busiest Fred Meyers of all the Fred Meyers, that Broadway store. It's also one of the larger. So a lot of people probably were hearing that nonsense, going in the store, out of the store, in the store, out of the store. And a lot of people, some people might think like me, like, whoa, you know, if that's the father, if we say something or make him mad, he may take it out on her later. And in the media, where we're hearing so many stories about sexual abuse and sexual assault, a lot of us worry about a lot of young people out there and what their lives are really like. And who knows if something else was going on. It may have been the right thing to say something to this person, and at the same time, it could have been a situation that could have been made far worse. It's difficult to know what you're actually going to do until the situation, and sometimes you have to use your best judgment whether or not you get involved. And in a lot of cases, we do have to use our best judgment. One example, but isn't so applicable for this scenario, but one scenario is a man and a woman. And the man may be choking her, the man may be saying threatening things. If it's like a fetish thing between them, and she's like, oh, that's so sexy, oh, and they're like at a bus stop, and it's like 82nd and Pal, and it's like this pimpo thing, you got to use your discernment and go, is that some man just running up to some woman and attacking her, or is this some weird little, you know, fight that they've got going on, some sort of foreplay? And a lot of human beings are like that. They're twisted, they're evil, they enjoy aggression, and they enjoy aggression being perpetrated upon innocent people as well as themselves. It gets them hot. It's part of the human condition, it's part of the human blueprint, and we're seeing the social repercussions of. So this is just a video, even though I said a lot there, said a mouthful, about the concerns I have for a lot of kids out there that are being abused by their parents. And in another video, I'll address how parental abuse can destroy someone's ability to have a relationship with others later on in life. We'll see you in the next video.